In the midst of the busy way of life that many live by in the United States, it is not common for us to pause and really think about the possessions in our lives. Furthermore, it is not common for us to think about the number of possessions we own, and very few go as far as to count the number of items that we have. Minimalism ultimately is not about the exact number of items we have, rather the value that each item brings. But nonetheless, we were curious and took a census of all of our belongings to figure out how many items we own. In today's episode, we will share what we have found.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy 3 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time you're listening, and welcome to the Abundantly Minimal Podcast. My name is Jake. You just heard Sarah moments ago. This is episode number 13. How many items do we own?
So, let's get into some backstory here today. We recently did a census of all of our stuff. And when I say recent, very recent, as in we finished a few minutes before recording this.
Exactly.
Because it took a little bit longer than expected, as it does sound like a lofty project.
It is.
But the average household, I think we've shared this before on the podcast, but the average household contains 300,000 things.
Ouch.
We fortunately came nowhere near that with our results here.
Yay. Sorry.
I love the energy you're bringing today, though.
Hey, it's good.
Is it because you just had homemade bagels?
Yeah. Did you guys know you could boil bagels? I didn't.
Yeah, you made some last night.
No, man, this is all serious though. I never knew you could boil a bagel.
Neither did I.
I got a new appreciation for bagel making after last night. This is a side story, but Sarah's been challenging me to cook for myself. I mean, I can cook things, but I think I said this before, but it's limited to 3 things: oats, a sandwich, and pasta. So I'm spreading my horizons a little bit, and I've added bagels to my repertoire. I've learned so many things about the art of bagel making that I didn't know. I learned how to, this isn't really that fascinating, but you knead the bagel, and press the dough together. I guess that's kind of self-explanatory. But I didn't know about the tuck in.
You pull dough from the top of the bagel and you slide it underneath.
Yeah.
And eventually it forms a hole.
And so made the bagels that way. They look kind of deformed, at least the ones that I made, but it was still awesome because then you got to boil them in a pot of water, and I don't know what else you'd boil something in. And then you flipped it after a minute to boil the other side after it was in there for a minute, and then you put them in the oven for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Let them sit for 30 minutes after being in the oven for 20 minutes.
They're pretty good.
It's pretty awesome. So that's my side story there. I can make bagels now for people because I don't know who else would want them.
So anyway, getting back to our topic, we are going to be sharing our results from our census. We'll start off with the grand totals because maybe you're most curious about that. I know I was really curious. And then we'll go into what we found with each room. We're not going to read off every item on the list, but going through and providing some basic overviews and also maybe things for pitfalls or areas where we had more than we expected and areas where we had done better than we expected. And I think one more thing just to reemphasize, being a minimalist is not about the number of items. It's fun, and especially props to the people who have very, very few items, less than 100 or 200. We're more than that. But I think that for us, it was just really interesting to kind of take a snapshot, sort of looking at what we have so far currently. I kind of wish we knew what our original number was when we first started decluttering, because I'm sure it would have been a much more grotesque looking number. I mean, we've simplified so much, but again, we're not perfect with it. There's still a lot of space to go. Even as we were counting things, I was like, I want to get rid of some of this stuff. We did actually get rid of a few things in the process, but we definitely have more room to go. So I'm going to let Jake do the big reveal.
Kind of going back to what Sarah said, the goal is that, first of all, as we said, the average number of items that a typical American household has is 300,000. So we set our goal, even though we just said that the number of items don't matter, but we wanted to challenge ourselves anyway. We wanted to see if we could get to 3,000 or less. And if I'm doing math right, 3,000 is about 1% of 300,000. So we wanted to try and go ahead and see if we could fit into the 1% here. So as far as the total number of items here, we had 3 totals. We totaled up the number that Sarah had, the number of items that I had, and then items that we shared together. So we count them as shared items because we both get use out of them. So checking in with 542 items was Sarah. Checking in with 555 items was both of us, shared. And with a grand minimal total of 272 items is me, this guy, yes. But in all seriousness, though, I have a problem, and I just try to get rid of everything now. But the grand total of everything added together was 1,370 items, and that's give or take a few items, rough estimation there. This total did not count anything that was of a consumable nature, so we didn't sit down and count every last raisin that we have in our house. But in all seriousness, though, we didn't count every piece of food that we have, or cleaning supplies, or even something like toothpaste, because I guess we could have counted it, but
that stuff gets used.
You
up
get rid
over
of it.
time.
You have different amounts of toothpaste at a time, medicines, all of that good stuff. We also didn't count for certain items papers and the stationery. We did kind of a rough estimate, and I think kind of overestimated a little bit.
As a whole, we didn't really count individual papers as things. For example, we have, important papers you keep that are bank information. Some of those records, we keep them in folder thing, and we counted the folder. We didn't count each piece of paper in the folder, because that, I feel would have driven up our numbers dramatically.
And I think that even other things, I'm just thinking of I think I've said I'm a huge Star Wars fan in some other podcast, but one of the items was a DVD set where it had the 6 first Star Wars movies in there. Technically, I could have counted as 6, but I counted it as 1 because it was just in one package. Mm-hmm. So, the thing with this whole minimalism counting thing, which is why Sarah says that really the number doesn't matter, is that, somebody else could have went through all of our stuff and counted it in a very different way and could have came up with a very different number. But with the way that we counted it, excluding all of the consumable stuff, we're pretty excited that we made it where we're at, because if I'm doing math right, and oftentimes I don't, but we are at a little bit under, I guess, half a percent of what the typical American household has. So,
and I think there's room for improvement.
Oh, yeah.
I think for sure and again, it's not about the number of things, but I think for sure we could hit under 1,000, and probably even more than that. You did really good, Jake. 272 items. That's impressive. For me, I was about double that. But should we talk about room to room?
Yeah. So I guess we should break down exactly, we also have the totals of how much each of us individually totaled, as well as both of us in a given room. So I think we will start with our private quarters first, the bedroom. What? It's private from no one, really, because no one else is here. But
well, isn't the whole house private? Because no one visits.
Well, this is the privatest of private quarters. So in any case,
you sound like old royalty.
I pretty much am. I'm pretty much an old guy in a young person's body, but who has still much to learn of the world. But as far as the totals that we had in the bedroom, so a lot of this is your clothing and shoes and bedding materials and so on and so forth. I checked in, actually, I guess half of my personal items came from the bedroom alone. I technically calculated 128 and a half. You might be wondering where that half came from. That's because I had an odd number of socks. And so I counted one pair as a half because I only had one sock, but not the other.
But your socks are kind of mix and match, so you can still wear
I mean,
the sock.
yeah, because they're just mostly all the plain, white socks. So
White socks.
I had, go White Sox. I had that. Sarah had 215, so roughly I would say half of her items as well came in the bedroom that were just exclusive to her. And then as far as shared items there, only 29 as far as the shared items go. And that was like, the bed and the clock, because we both look at that. So it's, shared possession.
Yeah. I had trouble with the clothing. I mean, I've gotten rid of so much overall. It does kind of build up, especially when you're thinking like each pair of socks and very small items even too. I think for me, especially compared to Jake, because he's done so well with clothes and my clothing's not there. And I mean, I know people have like a capsule wardrobe and all that. I actually am not really at that point yet. But I think what's most important to remember is that it's all about the value that item gives you. And I've got more clothing than I need. That's for sure. But I actually do a really good job wearing my stuff and getting a lot of good use out of what I have. So I was in my head, I was like, should I get rid of this? But it was mostly just for the sake of getting rid of it that I was thinking of in that way. Not like, well, I don't actually wear this. I'm not getting use out of this. So I'd encourage you to remember, obviously it's really exciting when you can get rid of things. But if there's something that you enjoy, then feel free to keep it. Don't feel guilty about getting rid of it if you're wearing it.
Yeah, for sure. I just know for me on my side of things, I'm pretty neurotic. If you knew me, you would see that pretty much right away. But so I've got this, basically I kind of go against Sarah's advices and I'm trying to like get rid of as many things as I can to have a low number.
I have to keep him in check sometimes. I'm like, are you just getting rid of this because of the number of items?
But in all seriousness though, like everything that I have like in the bedroom, I think at this point, for the most part, unless there's certain items that I want to replace as far as like quality of what they are or just, getting worn out and needing to be replaced over time, I don't really anticipate adding too much into my wardrobe and whatnot. But I got it down, I think, right now to where I've got a little under 25. Like this is counting every type of shirt, like workout shirt, pajama shirt, t-shirt, sweaters, dress shirts. I think I got it to like a little under 25 as far as total of what I've got. Now there are gonna be some things I definitely need to like fix. I've only got like 4 ties and some of those are kind of falling apart. They're a little bit on the cheaper end. So I may end up increasing a little bit there. In my urge of getting rid of clothes, I got rid of all of my polo shirts. I don't have a single polo right now, which means you can get by without that. But for those occasions where a polo works, that's something that I definitely probably want to pick up a couple of those now that I've kind of got overexcited and got rid of all of them because of my hatred for polyester. Still have some polyester clothes though. But
if you want to hear more of that, you can check out episodes 10 or 11.
10 or 11, pretty much in there, and get onto that. But yeah, the socks I think was definitely where I got caught up a lot actually, because that was the one thing that I hadn't really, I think, consciously downsized. But since socks wear out pretty easily and they get holes in them pretty easily, I figured, you know what, just keep what I've got. They're going to wear out, I mean, a lot quicker than other clothes. And I do use my socks every day. Sarah complains about this actually because never see my feet.
Okay, well, that's not really a big problem in life.
Well, I mean...
So I don't know if I'm really complaining.
Well, just a comment that has been made. I use my socks. I use all my pairs. So I could use probably some a little bit better, but I mean, I've got like the tube socks for the winter. I've got the short socks right now for the summers here. And then I've got the dress socks for work. So, I mean, the socks alone, that was actually a pretty big chunk of my stuff. But I use all of them except for the dress socks, I guess, now in the summer because, yay, summer vacation.
Well, let's move on to another room.
All right, so next room. The bathroom or restroom or the facilities, whatever you want to call it. We're open to all kinds of names here on Abundantly Minimal. But as far as this area, this is actually an area that, because it's a smaller space in our house, if you go to abundantlyminimal.com and watch the bathroom tour Sarah did, you'll see how small this thing is. But
someone actually commented, and I don't know if it was sarcastic or just like they liked the tour and wanted more, but they were like, a full bathroom tour next or something, or please do a full bathroom tour. So I don't know if that was sarcastic, like, yeah, you didn't really move the camera around very much, or if it was that just must have been a half bath to do the full bathroom.
no, that was it. That was the bathroom.
I mean, I didn't show inside the shower, but I showed the rest of it. I mean, it's pretty small.
Yeah, so all the numbers are actually pretty even. And remember, this does not include like all of our different sorts of medicines, which even that, I mean, consumables.
Well, consumables. I mean, shampoo, soap,
that stuff.
Extra.
Yeah, we don't really have much medicine, but I had 15 items in there, and that included like actually 12 of my personal items in there were washcloths because I like to wash my face, and it's not sanitary to use the same one for too long, or so they say. Sarah checked in with 18, and 13 of those items were miscellaneous.
You know, you don't have to get on me for not having an itemized.
I just wanted to clarify for the listeners out there. They think that we didn't show the whole bathroom. So, you know,
a lot of it was hair-related products or, well, some accessory kind of items.
And we did not count each piece of hair that, you know, sheds in the bathroom.
Oh, right. Wow, bitter.
I'm not bitter. I'm just saying. You don't.
He's a little bitter, guys.
I'm neurotic. But I didn't even use that right there.
I'm not bitter. I'm just neurotic.
Slogan right there. I should get a t-shirt. But that wouldn't be very minimal. Shared is 19, and that included 8 towels and nothing else that totaled more than 1. Oh, I lied. 2 floor towels. 2 floor towels, ladies and gentlemen. We like to keep our feet dry. Bathroom, I think, is pretty much just self-explanatory. I mean, you do your business in there. You don't spend any more time than you need to.
Thanks, Jake. Let's move on.
It's the last time you're going to let me do this. This is an area of I think where we struggled the most, or at least I did, the office area. So I don't know if this has been stated, but we have a 2-bedroom house, or not 2-bedroom house. I guess where we live like on a duplex, like lower floor. There's 2 bedrooms. And so our office kind of served, well, at least when we initially moved in here, like almost 3 years ago now, the office was kind of like our junkyard, I like to call it, because literally everything that we didn't know where it needed to go, we threw it in there. And I think Sarah mentioned this in another podcast, but we felt so embarrassed about it. We shut the door for like a long time because, it was just terrible to look at. But we've actually come a long way on it. And as far as how items divided there, I ended up with 87 items, and I guess the big highlights there, I don't know if you want to call them highlights, but 13 books.
Which is a huge reduction.
Huge reduction from what I had, because I had like a whole bookshelf full of books, and now I think there are more other items on that bookshelf than actual books on the bookshelf. 15 rocks and fossils. There was a phase in my life where I was a rock collector, or a wannabe rock collector. So for those of you, if you're a real rock collector, don't talk to me about you can't talk to me about it, but I won't know what you're talking about. You'd have to educate me, because I just collected things that look kind of funny. And also I purchased a couple rocks too in our trip to Europe. So yeah, but I limited that down to 15. But I don't know. I couldn't part with these rocks, so I kept
some of them.
Some of them. Most of them I got rid of, but the ones that were kind of like, wow, I kept those. Plus a couple that I gathered from travels, because that's actually, I don't know, can we say that in here? Or is that like illegal to say that?
Well, we don't remove anything from like national parks and stuff, so we're not. That would be committing a crime, but we're not doing that.
Places we've been to where it wasn't like explicitly said to not remove anything.
But you've stopped doing that.
I stopped doing that, but I've kept.
You've got a rock from Iceland and a rock from Italy, don't you?
Yeah. So, I guess a lot of my stuff was like graduation related. Junior high, as silly as that sounds. High school, college, like diplomas, yearbooks from all those times.
One way that we've managed to simplify was to get rid. We had 2 filing cabinets. So far, we've gotten rid of one, and we've got the other one scheduled to be picked up by the Salvation Army next week. So that is exciting, because file cabinets are kind of a tricky thing. I mean, if you're using it effectively, that's awesome. But I feel like they can just hold so much stuff, and they're just like a trap for extra stuff. So we were done with those.
Sarah, she had 164, but 100 of those items came from this large bin that has like a lot of paper clutter. So that was more so like a...
With that, to be honest, I didn't want to go through it because I had gone through it a while ago and really simplified. I knew much of it was paper. We also have all of our photos in there. I just said, let's say it's 100 and not worry about it today.
It certainly feels like 100, but it has wheels,
right.
so it's nice to move around.
Oh my God.
Other big items for Sarah, her books would have been 46 she had. Nothing else of like huge quantities. And then for shared items, we had 49, and that's including like your desk, your chairs. We have like a fan and a space heater. And then everything else, just like some computer stuff, like tents, sleeping bags, that kind of thing. Our Japanese gold doll that Sarah got from Japan, where you like color in the eyes, you color in the eyes after you achieve your goal.
You color in one eye when you set the goal, and then you
it.
color in the other eye when you achieve it. That's actually honestly one of my favorite things that we have.
Printer, like that kind of stuff. Bookshelves. One of them which was already here when we got here, though.
Camping supplies.
So good stuff.
Let's move on.
The living room. Here was another area of not as much challenge as the office, but I ended up with 38. And that includes, like, we've got, like, a little dresser. Well, it used to be, like, a dresser in my bedroom when I was a kid, but now we use it for, like, stuff out in our living room. I got my oboe in there, which I need to take out and play sometime. I really should and want to.
Do a concert on the podcast.
There you go.
Give us a review if you would like to hear Jake play his oboe. Nobody wants to hear that.
I need like 3 years of practice before I get up here and do that. Like our DVDs, which we've drastically went ahead and reduced. What else? I got rid of some more video game stuff. Recently put up a video game console, a PlayStation 2, up for sale. That was actually tough, but it was good because I really didn't use it since like a long time, and trying to get off the video game kick as much as possible. Still enjoy them, but just limit the amount I have. Figured I could just deal with a much smaller amount of stuff on one system or so. Sarah had 142 items. Her biggest number, music books for her. If you didn't know, Sarah is like a musician of all trades. She can play viola and actually violin a little bit, guitar, and
okay, that one's a stretch.
Well, she's gonna learn. She's got a guitar. She'll learn it.
That's one of those someday things.
Probably can still play it better than my oboe, which I played for like 10 years or whatever it was, 11 years. I wasn't a very good oboe player. I like to think I was, but Sarah, you actually don't know. Never played it for you. So.
Nope. Yeah, we've been together for almost 5 years, and I've never heard this oboe.
She's never asked.
Oh my gosh, I've been very curious, you rascal.
Really? Well,
yes.
maybe we'll pull it out. Not on the podcast. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll say it was really awesome. And then 56 shared items, like our couch and our little, again, an old nightstand I had that now serves as our TV stand. Our TV, a clock that we both look at, so it's a shared item. Lamps, internet devices like your modem, router, all that good stuff. Podcasting equipment. You're probably glad we kept that, right? Well, maybe not. I don't know.
And so speaking of this, Jake, I don't know if you actually were aware of this, but the minimalists, they're other minimalists that we're pretty big fans of, they actually are doing an incentive that they did during the month of May, that for any review they got for their podcast, so like an iTunes review, they were donating $10 to a charity. I think it was related to malaria, which I thought was really cool. And we don't quite have the same fan base and reach as they do, but I thought that, Jake, if you're interested, we could offer something similar if there's anyone listening who would like to give us a review, hopefully positive, but being honest and, constructive criticism is always good. We'd love to hear from you, and if you were to give us a review, we will donate $10 as well, actually, to either a charity of your choice. If you want to just let us know, like in the comments, you can leave comments on or abundantly.minimal.com on the post for that. You can leave comments there or on any of our social media, and we would love to donate to a charity of your choice.
We are ready.
So, leave us a review. But anyway,
yeah.
that's ultimately up to you. But just as a little incentive, giving back, be pretty exciting too. I always like working with different charities and discovering new charities. So anyway, let's get it back into it then. What's the next room?
So we've got our kitchen area. So we've got like not two different kitchens, but like the kitchen's kind of divided into two rooms. Like one room you have like the
galley
refrigerator
kitchen.
and I didn't know I had a name.
Well, that was one of our YouTube fans. Shout out to Julie if you're listening. She's been really cool and responded really positively to a lot of our videos. So she actually said that was a galley kitchen.
Galley kitchen. Well, thank you, Julie. I have learned something here today. The galley kitchen, and then was there a name for the other kitchen then? Just like
I didn't put that one in the video. I think that's just like that's where we have extra cabinet space.
The dump. No.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. The extra space. So in the two kitchens together, we had like 401 items and roughly somewhere around there. And that is, again, just counting all of the pots and pans and plates and spoons and forks and knives. I could have just said silverware, but I named them all. And other sorts of cooking devices that we've got laying around. I think that's still an area, though, that we definitely want to try to tackle a little bit more. We've minimalized in there as well, but I think it's one of those areas that we haven't given as much focus as maybe other parts of our house. The dining room area that we have, I guess our eating area, because even though we have the kitchen double area, there's not really enough room to eat in there. So there's like a dining room in this place as well. So that's where we got our table at, our chairs, and our vacuum is also here. Our donation area with items that we're going to send to Goodwill or elsewhere is in here as well. Our mailing area for things that we're going to mail. And so the items that we actually have in here that are ours for keeps and whatnot, at least for now, 19.
So not really a lot in here. This is also kind of our room of transition. And so we have our mailing center here, which is basically for all the stuff that we have posted on eBay and Amazon. We're probably going to be shutting that down because there's very few things we have left, kind of stuff that hasn't sold throughout the year. So we've got that, and whatever doesn't sell, we'll probably just donate. And then we also have like our box of items we put into when we are wanting to donate them.
And that's how we got to our grand total of about 1,370 items.
So should you go count up your items?
No.
I don't know if that's necessary. I think for us it was really interesting just to see where we are at. We actually had done better than we expected, but I think that there's always room for improvement. And for us, this is just kind of a check-in point on our minimalist journey, because even though we're talking about minimalism and producing minimalism-related content, we're not saying that we have all the answers yet, or that we're living, a quote-unquote perfect minimal life, whatever that means. But it's a step along the journey, and I think it's nice to know how far. Again, we don't know what our original number was, but it feels like we've come a really long way from where we started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just asking those questions of what items bring you value or bring you joy, continuing to do that is an important mindset to think about as you maybe are looking to declutter more of your own space.
So don't feel like you have to go declutter everything. It's just something that I think really for like the last year now, especially, we just really wanted to do and to see what we had. So if you're curious, I mean, we also hadn't been doing this like all in one day. We finished this just before we got on here to tell you about it. But this was at least like a 3-4 day process, I think, to go around and actually count all this stuff up and write it down and tally it. So definitely not something for one quick afternoon session. It'll take a while. That's
I guess
all right.
The more minimalist you are, the easier it will be.
Yeah, that's true. So, but yeah, if you have a lot of stuff to start, and again, I mean, also, this was a lot easier for us than it probably would have been because we've been getting rid of stuff for like the last year
and a half,
2
years.
So, I mean, I'd be curious, but also probably horrified to have known where we were at to start this whole thing.
But hey, I think that's about it to wrap up our podcast today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, we are going to do that little promotion, I guess, where if you do leave us a review, during, let's say, the next month. Should we say the end of June?
End of June. End of June. If you leave a review for us, then we will donate $10 to the charity of your choice.
Yes. So, and then you can just let us know at any of our social media or on the post for the website what your charity of choice is, I suppose, as well. And otherwise, we'll pick a good charity if you don't have a preference. But thank you guys so much for listening. You can check out other related content at abundantlyminimal.com, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. And don't go counting your stuff unless you want to.
Bye.
Bye.